estate, investing or income, building equity. It's a challenge. And I had the good fortune of meeting a lot of great professionals in my path. And one of them we're talking to today is Steve Manzo from Orange Coast Title. He's to talk about his experience in the real estate industry and share with you ideas on what you can do to help build your business. I'm Bill Gross. This is our weekly live cast. We do every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, and we are sponsored. This is the official podcast of the LA County Real Estate Investors Association. You can find all their activities at LAREIC.com, LAREIC.com. In particular, we have the Vendor Expo once a month, turns out to be in 2 days on Thursday in the Culver City area. We call it at the Iman Center. It's every Thursday. It's the second Thursday every month. There'll be 6:30 is a Vendor Expo, and then at 7:30 will be a speaker. 250 people there, and the most important feature is it's free. I'll be there. I go there every month. It's really the only event that I go to regularly that I don't sponsor, because it's that good with so many people there. And Lloyd Siegel and his LA County Real Estate Investors Association is our official sponsor. So we want to get that out of the way. That said, I met when I used to go out to events more regularly. I happened to go to one. I came across a guy who's a title rep, but more than that, really an industry leader. And I've had a chance to talk to him over the years. And I was talking to him recently and invited him to come and wanted to share his insights with us today. Steve Manzo from Orange Coast Title. Steve, how you doing?
Doing good, Bill. Thank you for having me today. Hi to everybody out there in Zoom world.
So give me a little background, Steve. How did you end up getting, first, where'd you grow up? And then how did you get into the industry?
Well, I originally grew up in New York. I moved out to California about 40 years ago. I've been in the title industry over 30 years.
Wow.
And, I started dealing with, realtors and lenders, and after probably 10, 12 years, I started meeting more and more investors, started getting into different groups and events in both Northern California as well as Southern California, met a great amount of people, and I've always enjoyed the investment side of things. So after being around all these entrepreneurs, it kind of gets you to the point where you say, hey, I could do that too. It also helps that I pretty much have the data that everybody needs to go out after these properties. So after providing different various types of data, whether it be NODs or probates or, empty nester information, as well as a ton of other areas that we could discuss later on in the program, it just came to my attention that, hey, it'd be worthwhile doing it myself also. So I have had the opportunity to flip some properties, and now I'm into doing apartment buildings, and just keep, trying to grow every avenue possible. So,
So tell me, let's go back a little bit to the basis. It's interesting. This group, kind of came out of Lloyd Siegel's LA Real Estate Investor Association group, and now we're the official sponsor. They don't have a title representative there regularly, which I'm surprised. So just give me kind of an introduction to, when somebody says, what's a title representative, or what's a title company do? What role do you play helping real estate investors or real estate salespeople like me build our business?
Right. So one of the things that I have available, probably the biggest key to my success is my assistant. Her name is Aida Rodriguez. She's been in the business for over 35 years, has done almost everything within the title industry. So to put it into layman's terms, what a title company does is we are the private investigators of real estate. So when you're going to look at a property, we're going to pick up all the liens that have to be looked upon and paid for before we can give clear title. So the reason that a lot of the investors like working with us is because when you look at a property profile, you're going to see maybe what the deed of trust is, maybe there's some back taxes, maybe there's a mechanics lien. But what we found is that more of the nitty gritty of the issues is with the owner of the property. So by having their name and their address, we can find out if there's state or federal tax liens. Maybe there's maybe they have alimony, child support, a les pendants. Maybe there's a hero program on the property. Solar is a big thing right now too. So these are all the things that we can do for an investor over the phone within about 5 minutes. Normally, to get that information, you have to go into escrow. So now it might be 2-3 weeks into the process when you find out that somebody has a $50,000 tax lien, and then it blows up your deal. So what we try to do is give you as much information as possible. So this way, you know whether or not that deal is going to make sense for you. And in a nice way, you don't tell somebody right off the bat that you know that, but in a nice way, you could say, hey, if there are other creditors or the government or anybody that you may owe money to, just understand it will come out of your proceeds during escrow. So I feel that we can save you a lot of time, and knowledge is your power. So knowing everything about that property is going to give you a better way of presenting your proposition to that person to help get them out of the situation they're in by being able to purchase the property, let them walk away with some money, take care of all their debts and everything. And everybody, it's more of a win-win that way.
Now, it's funny, I asked you the question, and you're so focused on service that you went right to that. And that wasn't quite what I had in mind as a question. Let's go back a little more elementary and talk about the role of title insurance. As an agent, when people ask me about a property, and I deal in probate, which often has some complications in title, squatters, and different legal disagreements, I tell them, you have to worry, you're going to get clear title. We have title insurance will ensure there's no liens in the property when you buy it and you're insured. So explain why that is, what that means to a buyer and a seller when we transfer property, and what role the title company plays in that part of the process.
Right. Well, for the buyer, it's very important because the buyer wants to make sure that nothing from the past is going to come and affect their purchase. Right. For instance, maybe a new roof was put on. They want to make sure that there's not a mechanics lien that gets put on there that they find out that the seller didn't pay for it, and now they expect the new homeowner to take care of it. So as a title company, that's why I say we research any and all liens that can be on a property to protect that buyer. Also, the lender requires it because they don't want to lend money on something where there is something that can encumber a property. For the seller, of course, we're making them debt-free to society. We just make sure that all those little things, like I said, whether it's back taxes or alimony, or maybe they owe the government some money, that's what comes out of their proceeds so that they can move forward without any debt. Now, credit cards, we don't deal with. Credit cards is something they have to take care of, but any other major lien type issue is something that we make sure is paid for.
So to the new investor, a new buyer, the buyer doesn't have to worry about the past, in that the title insurance is going to clarify that's the seller, you own the property, whatever issues he has or she has is theirs, and going forward, this is your property free and clear.
Yes,
or
correct.
Free and clear other than loans that you're aware of.
Right.
Great. Now then there's a tactics, why use you versus other title companies, and that's where some of what I would call the value added services come into play, which is, you talked about, for example, data and service and things like that. One of the real values that I see in talking to you from time to time is really just your knowledge of the industry, where the market is. I know I saw you in the past, you're very active with the Home Investors Organization, and which was a professional group of investors. Where do you see that market today? Where is the house flipping business? Here we are in December, first week of December, 2022. What's the activity like today, and what do you see it like at the beginning of next year?
Actually, I see a lot of good positives. As many of you may have heard or not, but companies like Zillow, Redfin, and Open Door got rid of their iBuyer platforms. Those platforms were designed to go out to just almost buy any property, whether it was distressed or not, using their analytics to make money. Well, then the opposite happened, and they actually lost tens of millions of dollars, each one of them. So they have all since gotten out of there. And a lot of people who were selling their properties, let's face it, they want to go on Zillow, and, you know, even though their home may be in complete disarray, needs a tremendous amount of work, they're going, yeah, but Zillow says my house is worth 600,000. But as an investor, you know it's really maybe worth 400,000. So what's happened is, with those platforms being gone, those same sellers are now starting to call back these other investors, or a lot of my home investor franchisees have been getting new calls now. Hey, that deal that so-and-so promised me isn't working anymore, or they had to pull out of the transaction. Can you help me? So I do see a lot of opportunities available for investors. And as I mentioned before, if anybody needs help with how to target those individuals, that is something that we can definitely help anybody with.
So before we go too much further, a couple of things. If you're watching this on recording or a live stream on YouTube or Facebook, we do the recording live on Zoom. So if you want to register, feel free to follow the registration link. Love you to come on and participate. However you're watching, feel free to ask questions. We want this to be interactive. We bring in an expert like Steve to talk, so that we're available to answer not just my questions. I could call him up and we'd go out for a beer or something and talk all night long, but to give you an opportunity as well. So if you have questions, you can raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat box. Love to get to you and answer those. Number one. Number two, well, I just blanked on what number two was. Oh, networking. We're all here to sell houses or buy houses or build our business. If you're a vendor, feel free to put your information in the chat box. Don't be shy. I'm a salesman. So put your name, your number, your email, your social media handles, and what you do, what you can offer other customers. Feel free to do that as a way to promote your business here. We'd love to support those who are here on the call who support us, and love to do some business with you if we can. So anyhow, so Steve, tell me, I know you've been in the business a while. You said, how long you been in the title business?
I think it's like 33 years.
So not quite as long as I've been in real estate, but you're real close. We'll just leave it at that. You've seen a lot. What are the common denominators of people who start in the business and stick through and get to be successes versus those who struggle and don't quite make it?
You know, I would say the successful people have a plan and stick to it. What people have to remember is, just because you're marketing, when you only touch a person one time, it may not leave the impact that you think it would. It's the repetitiveness of going after specific types of people that are going to be the best ones to go for. But you have to continue to do it consistently. I find that the people who aren't successful, they just do it once, expect the phone to ring, and that's it. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Maybe many, many moons ago, you used to be able, and even as a realtor, right, there used to be people who had, would be in the office and the phone would ring, and gee, they could go get an appointment. And unfortunately today, it's a very rewarding business, but it's a very difficult business. You have to have that get up and go 110% attitude every day. And to me, the more people that you're out and talking to is extremely important. But I think more so than anything, it's talking to the right people to get you what you're looking for.
I put Steve's contact info in the chat box if you want to follow up with him. So yeah, it's talking to people in a purposeful way, not just talking to people. You don't want to spend all day long cold calling, but you want to move things through purposefully. Within the area of real estate, there's a whole variety. You and I spoke previously about different niches. Personally, I'm really focused in the probate niche, not because it's the best niche, it's the best niche for me. And my personality type and my activities, my experience, it matched up. What are some of the niches that you see that maybe are underutilized or that agents or investors should take a look at for the lead generation that maybe you think are a little underutilized?
Of course, everybody likes to go after notice of defaults or pre-foreclosures. But, there are affidavit of deaths. Now, a lot of times you don't know if the other spouse is living or has passed away also. But for the most part, it's probably an elderly person. And maybe the spouse that is still around, it might be at that point where maybe they need to sell that property. Maybe they need to go into a home. Sometimes the kids are like, hey, mom, maybe it's time to live with us because they can't take care of themselves. So there's a big need for going after somebody with an affidavit of death. Delinquent property taxes. Well, if you're not paying your property taxes, you probably have other issues too. So that's something that always, to me, warrants at least getting some kind of a marketing piece out to those people. You can go after, of course, what we call empty nesters. Those are individuals that have been in their homes probably 30, 40 years or more. Once again, they have probably been around some time. Most of those people do not update their homes. So it could be a 50-year-old home and, it's going to need the new roof, the flooring, the windows, all of these things. So there are certain types of properties that you can look for so that you can get a below market price for it to be able to go in, fix it up, and then sell it at the retail market.
And these are different niches that you have some data that you can help people. If somebody's interested in a plan, is that something they can talk to you about? How to get the data? How do I contact them? What's the process?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I brought Steve on here is there are companies that will sell you pre-foreclosures or death certificates or some of these other niche data sources, but he also has access to that data. And so if you're a realtor investor looking to launch a program in those areas, you're based in Santa Clarita, right?
Correct.
But you service all of California.
I do all of California. We can do title insurance in all 58 counties. And one of the other things that I do with the data that people do request from us, I have other sites where we try to filter through that information to help obtain, phone numbers and emails. Because for every investor, somebody is good with the face-to-face. Right. Somebody else is good on the phone. Somebody else is just a good marketer and they know how to create pieces and continue to, like I said, do the consistency of hitting somebody with mailers. Some people like the social media. So there's all different ways that somebody has a strength that we try to provide that data with that strength so that you can be the most successful.
Yeah, it's really important. I think I think that to use an analogy, it used to be you could play what I would call two-dimensional chess, forward, backwards, side to side. In business now, it's about three-dimensional. And so for me, my probate business, I work with families and attorneys and investors and try to figure out how all three work together rather than just picking one. And so I think it's important as a real estate agent that you need to think about how do you market and how do you market in a way that builds momentum and that each activity you have builds momentum for yourself rather than just one-off activity here and one-off activity here. That's why I tell people in probate, start off with your center of influence, reach out to everybody you know already, tell them that you have training in probate, you're able to help them because they may know probate attorneys, they may know families in the estate process. Whatever business you're in, you want to make sure that you want to start with people who know you, like you, and trust you. Okay, so John Lopez says he invests in flips as a contractor doing ADUs. He's looking for investors who want to take advantage of the SB 9. He's looking to buy properties and split the lots and put 3 rentals on R1 lots. Steve, can you pull data of in a certain city, let's say, properties with R1 lots with a certain size, for example, that something like that might contact for listing the property or making unsolicited offers to them?
Yes, absolutely. We can not only target the types of properties that I've mentioned, but yeah, we can also determine lot size, because of course that is the biggest benefit, is having those larger lots to be able to put in the ADUs. And I believe with SB 9, it allows you to put in multiple ADUs.
Yeah. And so it's one thing to do the work. I think everybody likes to have the orders come to them, but if you can actually get the leads or work with somebody, empower somebody to get the leads, John, I'd recommend find somebody who's a hustler, wants to work with you, maybe in a city that you're not working. Maybe you work, one city and have somebody else work on the city next to you to generate some additional business.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe so. But there's some more laws going to be coming into effect in January, which is going to give a lot of teeth to the new ADU SB 9. So you could pretty much split any R1 lot and put up to 3 units on each lot. So interesting stuff. Could create a lot of value add in just regular lots, even like a 7,500 square foot lot or a 6,000 square foot lot. Obviously, the bigger the lot, the more space you can build on. But every deal, every decent sized lot is going to be a really good deal if you split and add maximum units allowed.
Yeah, this is going to be a big trend going forward. State of California is really pushing for increased density, and it's really just created some changed opportunities where investors used to look for just vacant lots. Now all of a sudden, houses with good sized lots can be added onto. It's definitely that business is changing. Every city is different, counties are different, states changing. Sticking up with those details is a whole niche worthy investigation.
Yeah, I was going to just say real quickly, because I'm not as up on ADUs as you are, John. But I have heard that each city will have their own little requirements to the ADUs.
Yeah, they're going to have something. Right, go ahead.
That people need to be aware that you might want to check with the city in which you're doing it in, so that you know their requirements, because some of them are definitely much more lax, and you can, like you said, do maximum, put 2 or 3 in there, and then you have others where they're very strict. And I know in our area, like HOAs also have something to say about those. So I just want people to be aware of that if there is an HOA and the city in which you're going to do it in, to make sure that you know their requirements before you just try and jump into something.
Right, but they all have to follow what's written in SB 9. It's good to get familiar with it if anybody's thinking about it. But in addition, though, this coming year, before they had to approve or deny plans within 60 days. And so they're getting overwhelmed. So the building department is just denying them if they can't get to them instead of approving them. Now they're trying to put in there where if they deny it, they have to deny it with a reason instead of just, saying, oh, we didn't get to it, denied.
Yeah. It's a big opportunity for somebody. I think the challenge there, from what I've seen, is that people take too broad a perspective. And I think Steve's point is well taken. I would specialize in one city, wherever if Los Angeles is a big city, if it's a smaller city, even better, and really learn their particulars and what they're approving, and even pull, research the projects they've approved and see what they've done and try to build to that. But there's plenty of opportunity there for housing in Los Angeles, where we don't have enough housing for sure.
Right.
Definitely some opportunities. Great, thanks, John.
Los Angeles is pretty lenient. There's some others that try to sneak stuff in there that's not allowed, and obviously somebody eventually will maybe bring a suit or something to get the city in line with the California state law. So, but yeah, you're right. You definitely have to do your due diligence. You can't just assume that Pasadena is going to do the same thing as Los Angeles, or
Right.
take your pick.
Right, you definitely don't want to assume that, because if you do, you're going to be disappointed or stuck with a property you don't want or something. So
Yeah.
that's not good. Okay, good. So hey, Annabelle Pacheco, nice to see you on the call. I know you called before, and I was
Hi, how
too
are
busy
you?
to take your call because I was getting ready for this.
Yes, I actually wanted to connect with some of the individuals on this call. I actually have come in contact with an individual who can tap into, I would say, anywhere from 20 to 30 million dollars, and has access to this money. I just have to bring deals to him that make sense and that we can put together. So if anyone on here has an opportunity, which, by the way, Bill, I'm talking to them about the Florence and Wilcox deal. There's a possibility there. But they're looking for some development projects. They're looking to invest in multifamily, be it a value add opportunity. If any of you, I know Paul's on this call as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Annabelle, is your person looking to be a hard money lender, or are they looking to be an equitable partner? Have they defined what their role is with that money?
No, they're definitely equitable partners. However, they're totally 100% open. They just need to know, because there's different, the money is coming from a group of different investors, and they all have different preferences. So it would just depend on what opportunity we have. We run it by them. And if it's something that they would consider, they know how to determine which group or which money is going to be allocated for a project.
What returns are they looking for?
No, I mean, they're just, at this point, they're looking to get their feet wet and invest. They're from Taiwan. He actually went to school here, but moved back to Taiwan, and he's looking to come back and wants to dabble in multifamily or development or any of that. And he has the access connection to the money.
Sounds
So
exciting.
he's not an expert. He's not, fully versed in this. He's a numbers guy.
Great.
Annabelle, would he be interested in apartment complexes from the ground up?
Yeah, absolutely.
My information, as Bill mentioned, is there. If you could text me your email, I can send you a couple of projects that we're currently getting ready to start. And you can see if he's interested in investing.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you.
Love to get you guys together. Annabelle's one of my partners in my business, Steve. So she's definitely, I'd love to help her any way I can.
Hey, Bill, can I ask another question?
Yeah, Paul.
I wanted to ask Steve. Steve, thanks for being on the call today.
Thank you, Paul.
Sure. I just wanted to ask, so if an investor, someone who's active like myself, wanted to work with you and get a title account going with you to obtain some of the data that you kind of described in the beginning of the call, like what would be the process to work with you?
Give me a call after the meeting and I'll get you set up with our online. I'll get you set up with my assistant. And because there's some data that you can obtain yourself, but a lot of the specialty information, you would basically send us an email with the area and what you're looking for, and we'll have it to you in about a day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, great. Thank you.
Excellent. That's for anybody. I use title information all day long, people call me about properties. I pull up the public record or get the legal description, comparables, commercial property. The best comparable system for commercial property or non-residential is actual sales data. You pull it up and you see the actual sales. So the information that Steve has is very valuable. Definitely worthy of a relationship. So got it. Okay, good. So Steve, you've been in the business like I have for 33 years. You've seen some ups, you've seen some downs. Where do you see, you know, I've been reading articles and commenting on them for the last 6 months, the coming housing crash, the coming crisis, the coming crash, the coming crisis, it's falling, the world's falling apart. And yet, you know, you're in LA County in the north part, the greater MLS area, our volume is down, but the prices are up. So it's fairly flat. Sellers just deciding they don't want to sell it, they'll get their price. What do you see happening now? What's your take on the market? I know Santa Cruz is a little different maybe than LA. What do you see happening? And what do you know, you're in business, what do you expect next year to look like?
You know, it's interesting you said that because I felt the same way as you. I felt if the interest rates were to keep climbing, they were gonna make the market crash, because there's no way that somebody who was buying a house at 3.5% one day can pay 8% without causing the prices to come down dramatically. I understand right now they're kind of in the high fives, which I think is a pretty good interest rate. And I do think it's kind of, for me, I feel like it's gonna save the market from crashing. We are seeing little traces of NODs, but that could be from 2 years ago when the pandemic hit, they wouldn't let, they put the moratorium on. So that could be a trickling of that. The only thing I'm not sure about is I feel like a lot of people are eating up their equity, even though people, I don't care if you got a 3% loan. If you're eating up the equity in your home, sooner or later, if those prices do adjust and they have to adjust downward, people are going to find themselves in problems. If the rates do go up, I think that you're going to see job loss. So with the job loss, of course, it's going to lead to short sales and foreclosures. But now, because they've stopped that increase with the rates, because they said that they were going to do 2 more, and now I hear that they might not do that, I feel like they're going to somewhat save the marketplace. I do think prices, even though they're holding hard, a lot of people are given the $10,000 concession and they're helping buyers. So they haven't really dug into the price yet, but they're given a lot of concessions to help the buyers out. I think if prices came down a little bit more, I think we might see a little flurry of business next year. Yeah. Because I think they've made it affordable again for the buyers, because there are just so many buyers out there. And of course, the lack of inventory is what's holding it all together. But I think that not increasing the rates is going to make a huge effect on the marketplace.
Yeah, I think when rates went from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, the fear that, well, they could go to 8, 9, or 10, and that would be a disaster, scared a lot of people, properly so, but it didn't get there. In fact, they've come down about 1% or more since the peak. And so if this is as high as it gets for a while, the economy's pretty good. If the rates come down, it will be crazy again. So it's funny, Paul commented Google, and you were mentioning, Steve, about companies. I just saw a listing come on the market, 2 nice units, trust listings, and the advertise, and then the comments I had that it was conveniently close in Culver City to where Google, Amazon, and Apple have built their new facilities. Well, that was really exciting until about a month ago when these companies started announcing some major layoffs. You wonder if they're going to fill up those new buildings with people or not. So I'm sure in the long run, those are great opportunities for people, but you better have some cash to get you through that ramp up period because it's not going to be as easy to get these places rented as it used to be. So what are you telling you? You obviously work with a lot of real estate agents. What's your advice when agents come to you and say, and I get this, I had this on the phone call, before I started. Personally, I'm real busy. Personally, I took a nice listing today. I got another listing that's waiting for me to send out the contract to get it e-signed today or tomorrow. Fortunately, I think I'm doing really well. But I've worked continuously every day, 5 days a week through this past 6-month period. I haven't slowed down. And I know their agents are struggling right now because the last 2 years, business came to them really easily, and investors as well. Deals came to them that made sense. And now they have to, what I would say is, this is a normal market. This is where you work and you get business. You work and get business. What do you say to agents to get them to get back to work?
Just that. You got to get out there and work. Nothing's going to be handed to you. And I know I keep saying the same thing about target marketing. It is something that I push upon my agents, my investors. You have to target your business. You can't waste your time on 60 or 70% of the people that really aren't going to go one way. There's maybe a small percentage of that 70% that could move, but really hone in on the 30%. And I show people how to do that, and give yourself the best opportunity. And for me, I mean, I know a lot of the younger people are all on social media and doing that. And honestly, it looks like the same thing over and over and over. I understand you've got to get out there. I'm much more of a face-to-face kind of person. I think people need to get out there and talk to the people. If you don't watch CNN, when was the last time you heard anything on channel 2, 4, 7, or 11 about the real estate market? If it isn't gloom and doom, they don't tell you anything good that's happening.
Right.
Well, that goes to the public. They don't hear it. They don't know. So when I have my agents going out and they're talking to the people and door knocking, they said that their responding now is so much greater because people want to know what's happening. They want to, they hear little things, maybe they hear something from a neighbor or a friend, but they're not an expert. They don't know what's going on. And let's face it, Zillow isn't, the tell-all of what's going on with real estate.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, they're really. I feel some of their data is not very good anymore.
No, it's not even they don't pretend anymore. I mean, when they started, the initial premise was they were data focused and they were going to give you the information and empower the consumer. They changed to become an advertising company, and I think the number they put on the property is the one that will generate the most business for Zillow. Because I can tell you, it used to be you would see properties listed and there'd be a gap between the list price and the estimate. Now it's almost always the same price.
Right.
It's never on the on-market properties because they don't upset the seller, they don't upset the agent. So the easy answer is just list for about what the list price is if it's an escrow, for example. So it's really where consumers have been taken advantage of. There's a saying in marketing, if you're not paying for something, then you are the product. And so consumers watching Zillow, if you're not paying Zillow, which you're probably not, really your attention's being sold by Zillow. They're going to give you whatever gets your attention that they can sell you to a customer. That's really what they do now. They're an advertising company. Okay, I've got my soapbox on Zillow. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would just tell anybody, just really look at what you're good at and then target what you're good at and just hit it every day. The more people you talk to, you're going to keep increasing the opportunities of people to talk to. And like you mentioned, go after your sphere. Yeah. If you got kids in school, utilize all those moms and dads that you see at school and the events and the sporting. There's just so many different ways that you can build upon what you want to do. But like I said, I think people have gotten spoiled having things handed to them
Yep.
a little bit too easily.
Yep.
And, the veterans still do what they do.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. It's funny because I'm big on social media. I mean, I do a lot of YouTube and Facebook. We do this event, but I email the links to my clients. I want my clients to see it. I don't pretend that strangers are really going to jump out of the woodwork to see it. I've had attorneys refer me to clients and the prospects will search me and see the video. Great. It's because the attorney referred me. They're just researching me. But at the end of the day, you still have to know people, talk to people, and have relationships with people. I don't think there's any way around that at all. Hey, I go to the event this week, Thursday, the LA Real Estate Investment Club event. I know I used to see you at an event monthly. What live real estate events, if any, do you go to, or are you aware of now in the post-COVID era that somebody who wanted to do some networking in real estate would benefit from? Do you know of any?
I myself, no. I was very big with deal makers, which I understand they are going to be bringing that back. I have done my meetings with home investors that we've continued to do, but that was in a smaller setting. But yes, I definitely want to get myself back out into the marketplace a little bit more. I love the idea of that one on Thursdays. I'll probably have you maybe send me that information.
Yeah.
I would like to start attending that probably starting next month. This month I'm pretty
not
tied
you
up.
send a colleague, because I think that it's a great opportunity. There's no title rep who's a vendor at that event that I'm aware of, and their vendors just sell data, but you guys are willing to share it with them for free in exchange for relationship. But more than that, people sell you data whether or not it works. And this is one of my complaints. When they sell you data, they don't care if you sell a house. They care if you're buying their data. You get paid when I sell a house from the title insurance. So you don't want me to waste my time and go out of business. You want our interests are aligned. That's why I'm so glad to get you on this call today. And I'd love to have you come on Thursday. I'd love to have you or somebody from your team as a vendor at the event every month, because I think investors and agents would benefit from the relationship with Orange Coast. And you guys have been a great resource in the title industry for my entire career.
No, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think, like I said, probably starting January, that would be a great opportunity.
Yeah. And for everybody else in the room, there'll be 150 people, I think, in that room, and about 30 or 40 vendors. So unless you have something else to do, I would recommend you be there. Annabelle, you're waving your hand. Let's get you unmuted. What else? You go. Ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. So what kind of vendors are at this event tomorrow or Thursday?
So the LARIC event, if you go to LAREIC.com, that's the organization that hosts the event. And it's called the Vendor Expo. And you'll see on the website, they'll have different advertisements. Those are the companies that are there. I'm one of them. Frankly, I just went because I like to see all the people in the room. I became a vendor really only because I wanted to make sure the event was successful and continued. But there's, real estate investment clubs, there's teachers and coaches, there's a home inspection, there's foundation inspection, eviction services, which I've used, and I closed 2 deals last year because of that guy I met, James. There's an insurance agent who focuses on investors and does insurance on vacant properties, which can be hard to get. I closed 2 deals with him. He's the guy who got the insurance binder for Florence, because we have to have insurance for the property, and you need an insurance agent who could turn around and do that real quick. So different vendors I use. And so I go there more personally to meet with the vendors. They're there, and there's some knowledgeable people. And there's some lenders, hard money lenders, fix and flip investor lenders. So there's good people that either you or your clients would benefit from and network with. Interesting enough, no title company, no escrow company, just for what that's worth.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I go. Okay, so other questions? See if we can hear your audio goes soft and Yeah, check your video and what's available. So you can see, yeah, thank you, Paul. You know, I think it's because I'm moving around and that I'm supposed to keep this right in front of me, and I'm not, and I'm just, it's been a long day, but thank you, Paul. It's been a long day. I was at court this morning at 7:45. We didn't get the property. We made a little deal, so we made a little bit of money today, but while I was there, I shot, it's so interesting. I shot a YouTube short. There's over 1,100 views already. So I don't know, kind of crazy day. Hey, Anders, I see your hand up. How can we help you?
Hi, my name is Anders, and my wife has a real estate investment company that I have joined since a few years back. But I also we have a small solar leg with that we kind of stumbled into. And Steve, you mentioned that you've run into, you said something about there is a lot with solar now, and I would be curious to see what is it that is popping up in your business there with solar?
No, it's just that when people put solar on, we don't know if it's paid for, if it's still under contract, can it be sold to the next individual? So it's just that we make people aware that the solar is on the property, and that it needs to be addressed, because some people may or may not want it, or some people might think, oh, it just comes with the house, and then they realize there's a payment because there's still money owed on the contract. So we just make people aware of that.
It's important. And as a listing agent, sometimes you can get those solar contracts assumed. Sometimes they can't be assumed, and so it has to be paid off the close of escrow. And so it's important information to know, and it may or may not be in the title report, but finding that out would be really helpful. Okay, good. Okay, so I think other than comments on my audio, I think I got all the comments in the chat box. So let me just kind of do a real recap again. If you want to get in touch with Steve, his contact info is in the chat box. He's with Orange Coast Title. You know, and I think most importantly, I would just say he's really just one of those resources. I think that if you're building your business, he's a great guy. You should reach out to him and see how he can help you. And I know he can do more than he's talked about. He's a modest guy, so feel free to reach out to him. Steve, I just want to thank you today for sharing your experience and your knowledge of the market, and I think your availability to help people. And I really encourage everybody here, if you're looking for somebody to help you, guide you on how you can develop some more business, how you can maybe develop a plan of action and get into action, talk to Steve and see if he can help you. Okay, Steve, thank you so much for your time today.
Bill, thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure to be able to help share with everybody. And like Bill said, we don't charge. I have to help you make money to make my money. So if we can help, lower people's expenses and, get the same results, better for everybody. So just want to thank everybody for being here today. And Bill, thank you for having me, and look forward to send me that info on Thursday night for Thursday nights, and we'll get into that for next month. Thanks
so much. And for the rest of you, again, this is the official podcast for the LA County Real Estate Investors Association. LARAIC is the event, and Thursdays for free. I haven't mentioned that. We're gonna have our vendor expo. Bill Tan will be the guest speaker. How to structure deals. There's no cost, and he's gonna talk about. He's just a very experienced real estate investor, teacher. He has a large real estate club he's had for years, and so he's very experienced in helping people. In particular, let me go back to the right spot here. It's in Culver City at the Iman Center. It's at 6:30, and there'll be an event. This is kind of what it looks like. This is a couple of months ago, and then there'll be a vendor expo beforehand at 6:30. I'm one of the official. I'm a vendor there, as well as the official live cast we'll have there as well. So hope to see you Thursday at 6:30 at the vendor expo. And if not, we do this every Thursday at 3 p.m. We live stream it on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Bill Gross, the LA Probate expert. Thank you everybody for your support today. Again, Steve and Anders, Annabelle, Paul, thank you guys for all your help today. I appreciate it. And Jonathan, thank you so much.
Thank you.